In this video, we're going to turn a Home Depot shed into a luxurious tiny home. This is the smallest and most intricate house I have ever built. Measuring in at just 350 square feet, we have to be creative to make the most of this space. We started by looking at sheds on the Home Depot website. But look at the prices of these sheds. I'm trying to keep this build under $20,000, so let's check out Facebook Marketplace. After looking through dozens of listings, I found a large shed and purchased it for $5,000. I hired a company to move the shed for $1,000. The move was pretty cool. They used a specialized trailer and a 3-ton forklift to get it into position. Having a solid foundation is very important, so we leveled the shed with cinder blocks and wood shims. There's also hurricane straps that will be secured to keep the building in place. Now that the shed is in place, we need to gut the inside. It looked like some kind of halfway built man cave with curtains for walls and mismatched flooring, but we have other plans for this shed. With a little inspiration from Pinterest and an app called Room Planner, we crafted the perfect interior. With a large kitchen and open floor plan, this studio-style home offers modern amenities mixed with rustic style. To begin this transformation, we had to gut the inside of this shed. We ripped out all the curtains, floors, and cleaned house. Now we can frame up the bathroom and closet walls. A cool thing to note about this is there are very few walls because this is set up as a studio apartment and there are no separate bedrooms. Now it's time for the electrical rough-in. I'm cutting some plywood spacers for the living room because we're installing baseboard outlets. The outlets need to be raised up just a bit to be centered in the 1x6 baseboard. Why baseboard outlets, you might ask? Because we're going to have sheet metal wainscoting and I don't want the outlets protruding from the metal. This sheet metal gives a farmhouse theme and the baseboards hide the outlets. Once we have all the electrical boxes in place, it's time to drill holes and run wire through the walls to complete all the circuits. Then we pulled the wire outside into the breaker panel. We'll come back later and install the breakers. Since this is technically a mobile home lot that I own on a ½ acre of land, it already has utility hookups. The sewer system, city water, and electrical are ready to go. However, the overhead power lines were recently relocated to the back of the property, so I'm also installing a new overhead service to bring everything up to code. This 200 amp service pole was pre-assembled at my local hardware store, so all we have to do is set it in this hole and hook up the conduit going to the tiny house. For good measure, I'm going to backfill it with concrete. We drilled holes and then installed PEX tubing for all the water supply lines for the sink, shower, toilet, and ice maker. Then, we used straps to secure the PEX under the house. Next, we installed all the drain pipes from the tiny house to the sewer system. For extra pest control, we sprinkled boric acid into all the wall cavities before sealing up the walls. I purchased 12 sheets of sheetrock for the ceiling and got a few guys together to help hang it. One of these days, I'm going to purchase a sheetrock jack to make this process easier. I chose smart side wall paneling for the interior walls because it's already primed and has a tongue and groove pattern. That means the edges of the sheets don't need to be floated or covered with trim, and it's ready for paint. Since I despise floating sheetrock, I hired a living legend to make the sheetrock ceiling look better than I ever could. Once the ceiling and walls are complete, we primed the ceiling and put 2 coats of paint on everything. For anyone who's wondering, this project ended up consuming about 20 working days. Those days were spread out over 6 months of random evenings and weekends to complete. This tiny house also serves a special purpose, which I'll tell you about later. Now that we're done with the rough-in, let's install some lights. These flush mount LEDs are super easy to install. You just have to drill the hole, make the wire connection, and set it in the ceiling. That's it. We're putting 2 rows of lights in the kitchen for a total of 6 lights. It's so bright in here, you could probably see your future. Next, we're installing speakers in the ceiling. This is the first time that I've ever installed speakers in the ceiling, and they turned out great. So great, in fact, that I plan on installing these again in the future. We have plenty of switches and outlets to install, so I'm not going to bore you with too much of that, and then we're going to tidy them up with faceplates. Oh, I almost forgot the porch light. For the bedroom area, we're definitely installing a ceiling fan because no one can sleep without one of those. This is also important for air circulation throughout the house because we're installing a single mini split air conditioner. While we're on the topic of air conditioning, let's go ahead and unbox our mini split unit. This house is 350 square feet and you generally only need 12,000 BTUs of cooling per 500 square feet. So technically 12,000 BTUs is plenty for this space. However, we live in a hot climate, so we bumped up to an 18,000 BTU air conditioner. With a larger unit, there would be less runtime and less dehumidification, so we have to monitor the indoor humidity level. The condenser is mounted directly to the wall with these handy brackets, so that if we ever move the house, the AC would just go with it. The copper is longer than we need, so we're going to cut off the excess so we don't have a sloppy installation with extra copper hanging around. To finish up the ventilation, I'm installing a vent light in the bathroom and above the shower to remove excess humidity. Honestly, I should have removed this railing a long time ago. Seriously, why didn't they put the steps in front of the door? As we bring in the unfinished oak cabinets, let me fill you in on why we're building this house in the first place. You see the guy in the blue shirt? That's Aaron, and he's a friend of mine. And this is going to be his house. He's tired of renting, and we're excited to help him achieve the dream of being a homeowner without the burden of a 30-year mortgage. See how excited I am? I found out that if you're painting with a dark color, you should also use a darker gray primer instead of a white primer. We're painting these cabinets emerald green, which I was very concerned about at first, but after we got done putting on the first coat, I was very pleased with how it came out. Now, what's going to make these cabinets pop is the stained butcher block countertops. This is also my first time doing butcher block, so after we get done cutting out for the sink and trimming the excess off, I will learn how to stain and seal this material. After many test samples, we settled on special walnut 224. Applying the stain was simple enough, but I decided to go ahead and secure the countertops in place before applying the clear coat. Once everything is in place and secure, we're going to try to keep the walls clean by applying painter's tape. In total, I ended up applying 3 coats of urethane for a thick and durable finish. I also learned that it's important to lightly sand between the coats to make sure the next coat adheres properly. Otherwise, it might bubble or peel up. Personally, I prefer standalone microwaves, but to conserve space, we're installing a microwave vent combo above the stove. This goes in place of the vent hood and does 2 jobs. We want to separate the space between the living room and the bedroom, so we're going to build a bar. I learned a valuable lesson from the kitchen and painted the cabinets outside before we brought them in. We sacrificed the overhang on the bar for larger cabinets and extra storage underneath. Remember the wood shims for the baseboard outlets? We installed those because I want the outlets centered in the baseboards like you see here. As I install the baseboard, did you notice the floor magically appeared? That is antique pine laminate flooring. It looks good and is water resistant, so we can use it throughout the entire house. If the green cabinets and butcher block countertops weren't enough character, now we're going to add some more with barn metal wainscoting. I'm going to start at the bar and wrap the wainscoting around to the wall to make the bar look built in. Then I'm going to cap it with 1x4s stained to match the butcher block. I'm going to keep the same color scheme going for the crown molding as well. A bathroom door for privacy might be nice. The bathroom is the only separate room in this house, and for obvious reasons. Just because this is a tiny house doesn't mean it has to have a tiny shower. We're installing this massive shower as a statement piece for this house. We will come back later and install a bronze sliding glass door to finish it off. We're using an all-in-one valve for the shower, and all of our fixtures are Venetian bronze from the shower to the door handles and even the kitchen sink. The sink faucet is also a nice all-in-one unit to give a modern touch. I hope the sink fits. According to the brochure, this toilet can flush a basket full of golf balls. I haven't tried it yet, but maybe we'll do a video on that. Since we're trying to save space, we're installing this cute little instant water heater in the closet. It may be small, but it will supply hot water for as long of a shower as you can dream of. There's an old saying in construction and it goes like this: with enough caulk and paint, you can make anything look great. It's good to seal up all the nooks and crannies to make sure spiders and bugs don't make a home in them. I'm super excited to unbox this new Samsung stove. It matches the microwave vent overhead, and it's an air fryer, it's a conduction cooktop, and it even has Bluetooth. This thing does everything. It's like a transformer. And not only that, it's gorgeous. The fridge is not new, and eventually it will be updated to a stainless steel model to match the rest of the appliances. I installed closet shelves and rods for hanging clothes. We also have color changing LED puck lights under the cupboards. We hung a flat screen TV with a 180-degree mount so you can watch it from the bedroom or the living room. And finally, we installed a sliding glass shower door. And of course, it's Venetian bronze to match everything else. Now, this place is ready for furniture.
Now that everything's done and we're moved in, let me show you what the inside looks like. We're going to start right here by the front door. We have our nice water station, and right next to it, we have the dog station. We got water, food, and a little bit of food storage. Moving on into the living room, we have our nice love seat right here. What's really cool about this love seat is that both sides recline. Come in here and chill, relax. Moving on to the bar, we have a couple of bar stools, we have a nice bar, and then we also have the TV. Let me show you something really cool with this TV. It swivels 180 degrees, so you can be in the kitchen or the living room cooking or chilling, and you can watch TV from here. Now, moving on into the bedroom, we can actually swivel this TV 180 degrees this way. So if we're in the bedroom, taking a nap or just chilling on the bed, we can still watch TV. So we got our bed right here, got a nice little end table, and we also have the closet. Also in the bedroom, we have this nice little music station, got a couple of guitars, got our electric keyboard, a nice stool so you can sit down and play some music. And then over here in the bar, we have our amp for the guitars, and we also have the receiver for the surround sound system. Now let's talk about the surround sound for a second. You can see we put all the speakers in the ceiling. We got 3 of them across here. I was a little concerned at first that this ceiling fan was going to mess with the audio from this speaker. However, it doesn't interrupt it at all. It sounds great. The sound through here is very even and very good. We also have 2 additional speakers on the front porch, so if you're hanging outside, you can also listen to music out there. Now over here we have the shower, and we installed this really nice sliding glass door, which actually opens from either direction. So if you want to get in on this side or on this side, you have that availability. So this does a really good job of keeping all the water in the showers and off of the floors. Even though these laminate floors are rated for 12 hours of water contact, we try to keep them as dry as possible. We also have this bronze towel rack that matches all the other fixtures in here. And moving back into the living room kitchen area, we have the bathroom on our left. Coming out of the bathroom, we have a nice little area that we have a trash can and then our refrigerator. And moving back into the kitchen, obviously we have a nice large kitchen space considering the size of this tiny house. with a nice stove, plenty of butcher block countertop for doing any sort of meal prep, the overhead microwave, and our kitchen sink. Now, I've had a couple of people comment from the construction video that there's no sink in the bathroom. There was no space to put it there, but from there to the kitchen sink is a relatively short walk. So that is what we do to suffice. The last feature that we added in here was these nice faux wood blinds that really help give you a little bit of privacy and also keep the sunlight out, or if you want the sunlight to come on in, there we go. And the very last thing that I have to talk about is additions. So what we're planning on doing in the future here is adding a lean-to off of this building that's gonna come out about 10 or 12 feet that we'll be able to park a vehicle under. And then at the back side of this lean-to, we're going to put in a storage room that'll be for tools and also a washer and a dryer. That way they'll have washer and dryer facilities on site. Let me know what you think in the comments. Consider subscribing, and we'll see you on the next project.